All right. I think we're live.
Are we live? Can you hear us
We're
well?
live. Let us know if you can hear us in the chats. Give me an F if you can hear us. Picture and sound. Yay! All right. Holy shit, we got a lot of comments already. What's up, dudes? Welcome to another Q&A. I have Doug Castro here, the man himself. So, yeah, let's just start fielding questions. You all got them. We got you.
Let's see.
All right. No sound. I think I got sound. Let me just double check. Check. Yeah, we got sound.
Right.
All right.
On Instagram, yeah, we're the Fs there.
Yeah, so we got sound.
Yeah, people can hear us.
Where the units being made. Okay, cool.
So you're having prototypes at NAMM. First question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have actually have them here.
Yes. Yeah.
As you
So
can see. So
we
we
go.
have a couple of prototypes. Believe it or not, the hardware development is quite mature. A lot of the work that needs to be done and why we gave ourselves such a big lead time is because there's a lot of software development to do. A lot of the algorithms that we're promising, 50 plus amps, 70 plus effects, I would say we're halfway there with the algorithm research, meaning that we have the models pretty much ready. But porting these to Shark actually takes a lot of extra time. So the long lead time we gave us was more to make sure that we can complete the integration of all these moving parts. But yeah, we have two prototypes of NAMM that they will sound, and we have a few models ported there already, so you'll be able to load an amp, load an IR, pedal, a delay, for example, and yeah, try it out. Of course, the collection we have now is quite limited compared to what we'll have in September, but yeah, if you're at NAMM, you'll be able to stop by and take it for a spin.
Great. So Kevin JB7 asks, hi, Mr. Castro. Can the stereo outputs be summed to a single mono out in situations where you are going into a device cab with only one input? Thanks.
Sure. So that can be easily done on the output column. So there's an input column and an output column, and you can select which input or output, like physical input or output you're using. If you have a stereo effect at the end, say a delay or like a ping pong delay or a reverb, and you select only one output, those will be summed. If you have a stereo out, then it'll be panned and split accordingly. But yeah, so that can be done for sure. Actually, at NAMM, you'll hear that because we don't have stereo processing yet. So all of the ping pong delays, it'll be more like a pong pong delay because it's mono. But yeah, that can be done, no problem.
Rusico G asks, do you accept kidneys?
Actually, I've been offered like 55 kidneys since Friday. If I was Hannibal Lecter, I'd be pretty stoked about this. But no, I think we'll take cash for now. But if we change and we start taking organs, I mean, we can, of course. We'll let everybody know that, like if we had Bitcoin as payment method, we'd also add
it's the
organs.
neural DSP black market, So Carmelo DL asks, what are the native sample rates and bit depth of the device? And is it possible to change the sample rate of the USB audio interface?
Yeah, those are good questions. So yeah, for the Cortex, it's 24. Actually, I have to check actually because we've changed the specs a bit. I'll get back to you on those. Okay. The sample rate of the device will be 48Ks. But of course, the internal sample rate is much higher because you need to oversample to fix aliasing. But yeah, the device sample rate will be 48K.
Okay, so the abandoned door asks, how exactly is USB audio implemented? Can I use the 4-cable method and use the preamp section of my amp as a block in the chain?
Yes, so I mean, you can use 4-cable method, of course. Currently, we're porting all of the amps together, so you have preamp and power amp. But we're discussing that we should probably also have the preamps just in case if you'd like to connect the Cortex to a TUF power amps FX return, for example. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty straightforward thing to do. So it's not implemented yet, but we can do it. And I mean, and if you want to use a more traditional version of 4-cable method where you have your boosters, compressors first, and then your time effects, that of course you can do like out of the box. But yeah, it'll work.
Perfect. Excellent. So Source Compile Studios asks, explain neural capture process in full and all the machine learning processes you're using to model amps in technical terms. Explain how or if a user can fully capture their own amps when it's complex.
I mean, the complexity of the amp doesn't matter because you cannot learn different settings configurations yet, at least. And there's a good reason for that. But basically, the difference between these and other solutions is that what's been done so far relies on a set structure of blocks that are then set to match the sound of your amplifier.
Okay.
And this is true for like tone matching and profiling.
Okay.
So the difference between that and what we're doing is actually our structure is much more fluid because the neural nets just learn whatever's there.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, the system generalizes better in that it can learn very accurately sounds that might not be friendly for that topology. So for example, if you have a blend control, or even if you don't have blend control, but a tube screamer is a great example because a tube screamer has quite a bit of clean signal blended to it, and that always throws off like tone matching, or I'm not sure if tone matching, but at least profiling.
Okay.
Our structure doesn't really care if the signal you're profiling has a clean blend and a clean and a dirty side. Also, like with multiband distortions, for example, it learns those very well. And you can also, I hope that we can expand it to do other types of effects, such as modulation even. Okay. Another cool thing is that you should also be able to, do dual microphones because, again, the system doesn't really care what you're doing. So they're, even at this stage, which is, quite early on, it's already a much more like fluid topology in that, and that makes it very accurate in scenarios that might be challenging for other solutions.
Cool. Let's see. That's interesting. Han Jackers asks, great product, but do archetype plugins matter anymore?
I mean, I think, of course, because did the archetypes matter, 2 weeks ago when we didn't have these? There were other really good solutions, like modeling solutions in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So I think absolutely. I think they're completely different audiences. Although there's a lot of overlap, like a lot of people who enjoy the archetypes or whatever plugins we or other people make will still might be interested in a modeling hardware device. I think that there are people who do either one or the other, right. But there are people that do both. I think the archetypes are great to do like a very inexpensive and sort of like straightforward solution in which you for $100 or roughly $100 you get great sounds and you don't have to like do much work to get it to sound good. I think that simplicity and that accessibility it's something that still matters and it's still relevant. Our plugin sales have not declined at all since we launched Cortex, actually. Right. So I think there's definitely plenty of room for both.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I think that the archetypes and the regular line of plugins that we have are just this is not made irrelevant by this. It's just an extension of the rest of the business. I think that those plugins are still going to be used a lot in mixing and production and stuff like that. Because I mean, they are, in my opinion, some of the best on the market. Like hands down. So I don't think that anybody's going to stop using them just because this has come out.
No, absolutely not. Actually, on the sort of bit depth, the codecs are running at 24 bits, and the sharks are 32-bit floating.
Oh, great!
So
excellent.
Sorry guys, I flew like 25 hours yesterday and I didn't sleep much yesterday, so I'm like at 75% cognitive capacity right now, but we'll push through.
We're just gonna get some more coffee after this. How confident are you in the September release? There's a well-known floor modeler out there that was announced 9 months ago and still can't ship them.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I mean, I know a lot about manufacturing. Actually, that's probably what I know the most about because of the whole Darkless. I used to run Darkless before, and Darkless, on top of designing and developing all the products, we also own our factory, so I do get to see a lot of what real production is from the inside, much more than many other companies that just outsource it, which we might do for this. It's still to be determined, but at the moment I'm very confident in that. We have 8 full months or almost 9 months to complete the algorithm research, porting all the algorithms and integrating things. I mean, for NAM, you can already see probably 10% of the sounds that you'll have when this is released. So we're making really good progress.
Good.
Of course, I mean, anything can happen. So I'm not saying that it's impossible to have like a slight delay, but I'm pretty confident that September is a pretty realistic date. And actually, the manufacturing itself doesn't take so long. It should take 3 to 4 months to manufacture. So actually, a lot of the extra time we gave ourselves is to, just in case there's something that we didn't anticipate, which happens all the time, and just to have enough time to complete the software development side of things.
Right. Sven Yeske asks, no power switch. Is the GC always on when connected to the power supply?
Actually, there's no power switch, but you can restart or take it to sleep from the UI. It's not anywhere obvious that you could accidentally stomp on when you're playing live, so you won't shut it off by accident. But just like a laptop or a tablet, the idea is that you can just keep it plugged all the time, and if you need to restart or put it to sleep, you can do that, and then the energy consumption goes down.
Perfect. Perfect. I saw Tom Quayle says he's very excited. What's up, Tom? Let's see. Is there a way to assign certain buttons to act more like pedals? Like I have a bass tone I like, and then add a drive or extra delay to it without changing everything.
Sure. So there's 3 switching modes. Preset mode, in which each switch opens a new preset.
Okay.
So if you want to change, you can change the order of things, what blocks you have. You start from scratch, which is with each preset. Within a preset, there's 2 other modes. One is scene mode, in which you can assign different blocks in the preset and different settings for each block, and assign that to a switch. And you get 8 of those. So you get 8 scenes in which you can turn things on and off, several things, and change the settings of everything else. And there's a simplified version of that, which is Stomp Mode, in which each block is assigned to one switch, which is what you describe. And that's quite similar to what you'd have on an analog pedal board, in which you have just all your pedals and you stomp on them. You tap dance around the pedal board. That's pretty easy to use. And actually, if you don't like the order of how things are assigned by default, you can very easily reassign them to a switch. It takes 2 seconds. So yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we that I'm really proud of when it comes to this device is that it's very easy to figure these things out. My main quarrel with many other modelers until we did this was just how steep the learning curve was to do something very simple, like just having 2 overdrives and switching on and off between them on different instances. Even that took a lot of time if you didn't have a desktop editor. So we wanted to make something that's self-reliant, so you don't need an editor, you don't need an app to control. You can do everything from the device very, very intuitively. But of course, because we know that some people like to just do everything from a big monitor, we'll still have a desktop controller.
Perfect.
Which will be free, of course.
Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead. Armando Faz asks, do we have an amp list?
Yeah, we do have a list, and actually it's an internal list that we made of all the things that we think we should ship this with. Keep in mind, though, the list that we'll share, and we'll probably share it when I'm back from NAMM, so hopefully next week if I'm not too dead. It should be next week. What we'll publish next week is what you'll get in September, but we really, really want to continue to expand on this library as much as possible permanently, and without any extra cost. So the list will give on next week will continue to grow and grow. And the cool thing about this is that, not just this device, but any device of this kind, is that since they're digital, they get better with time. Any bug that you have, you can address with a firmware update. And when you add more new amps, new effects, those can be added very easily. The cool thing that's special about Quad Cortex also is that you have a Wi-Fi module inside. Actually, I showed it to Steven now. We're actually using that now because we're still doing some last tests and a little bit of debugging before the show. And the developers just keep pushing updates, and we download it, try it again, and report back, and it makes working very easy. But yeah, this is something that users will also be able to benefit from. So say that there's an issue, or that we just add a bunch of new effects and amps. You connect your device to Wi-Fi, and in 10 minutes, it's there. You need to connect it to the computer. You don't need to browse through a website, nothing. You just do everything from the device. It's like updating the OS on your phone. It just happens. The cool thing is that you can also use the device while it's updating. So, it's updating for 10 minutes, but you can play through it, for the most part of that process.
Great. Let's see. Neosis and Co asks, can wet tracks and DI tracks be recorded simultaneously with this device?
It's a very good question. I think you should be able to. The USB will have 8 channels, so I think you could route a DI on the UI for yeah. I think it should be possible. I don't want to promise anything because I'd have to look into it, but yeah, I don't see any reason why
It would
that
probably
shouldn't
be it'd probably be easy enough to route your DI signal out and then a wet track out the other, correct?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you could do that as well.
Yeah. So there's definitely a way that you could pull that off for sure. Let's see. Andres Catalan asks, simply tuner? Question mark.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a tuner. Actually, I'm not sure if it'll be implemented by NAM, but yeah, I mean, we have a tuner that's working, and there's something that you guys should also understand is that we do all of the algorithm research on computers, like, on a desktop computer. Basically, what you do is that once you have the model ready, you just write an application for it, C++ code, and usually build that into a VST just so it's easy to test. So the guys back in Helsinki, they just connect an amp through a load box and a DI, and then they load the VST of the amp, and then they go through the same IR, and that's how we verify. That's called algorithm validation. That's how we validate them. So amps and effects in VST, we have a lot done. And it's just now the embedded DSP guys, who are the guys who rewrite all the code for Shark, they're now busy adding them. The tuner is in that list. So the tuner is ready. It's the same algorithm that we use for the plugins.
Cool.
But yeah, it'll be in Quad Cortex soon enough.
Great. Let's see. With all the new processing power, this is from John Joy. With all the new processing power, how do you plan to tackle thermal overheating issues?
So far, we haven't had any heating issues. I was one of the first people to take this home, to take one out of the office. And when I did it, I left it plugged for days. I mean, for an entire weekend at least. It was entire Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning. There was no heating issues. We're doing some tests with thermal cameras now just to make sure, but so far it seems that heating is not a problem. We do have vent holes, so there is a flow of air within the device, which helps. Also, this device, unlike any or most modelers, is not made of sheet metal, which is iron or steel. It's made of aluminum, so it actually conducts heat much better. So the chassis itself can act as a heat sink as well.
Perfect.
So I think that helps as well.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the vent holes are just necessary for ventilation as they are for the Wi-Fi module. If you have an aluminum chassis that's closed, you have a Faraday cage, your Wi-Fi module will not pick up any signal. So actually, the Wi-Fi antenna is placed near the vent holes.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. Sampo asks, once you are done with the first 2 pre-order batches, how do you plan to continue with distributing the products, direct or dealers?
I think probably both. A lot of this will depend on how NAM goes, because I mean NAM is a B2B show. It's a trade show, not a consumer show. So most of our appointments are with some of the dealers that you guys already know. I've worked with many of the best stores through Darkness already, so I have a relationship with them. So yeah, I think the first batch in September we want to do direct. I think by November already we'll probably do a mix in which people who pre-order and are in for batch 2 might get it direct. But also it should be available for people to buy from dealers then.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Excellent. Let's see. Rutger asks, for how long do you plan to keep updating the firmware and support the unit? And 2, do you plan to make a rack unit or only just the floor one?
I mean, there aren't really plans of making a rack yet. I think we're so busy with this. I mean, we have 9 months. I mean, we've been working on this for a couple of years, but we have the most intense part of the process, which is making sure that it's good enough for you guys. Starts now. So I think we won't start even considering anything else until we're sure that this is, as good as we want it to be within the time frame that we promised. So after that's sort of secured and these are rolling, we might think about what if we want to do new things. But for now, this is our entire focus. For how long do we pretend to support this? I mean, it's for years to come. I don't want to say forever because, of course, anything can happen. But I mean, we don't have any plans not to support it. And people who buy our plugins, for example, know that if you put a plugin even year and a half ago, the Darkest Ultra plugin, we continue to support and upgrade them for free and making sure that you guys, especially the people who trusts us to be first in line to buy something. We want to make sure that that's a decision that nobody regrets. So yeah, I mean, and firmware updates I think we'll do all the time. The cool thing about this is that when it starts shipping, we'll get a lot of feedback from the users themselves, and if there's consensus that there's something that that we could have done better or something that we missed to add. Like a lot of people have asked for a looper, for example. That's something that we didn't have in the works, but now that a lot of people have asked for it, it's something that we'll definitely start looking into. Another thing that's cool about this is that when we define the specifications for the hardware, we went really high. That's why we have so much processing power, like 4 shard cores. And there's 2 ARM cores as well on top of that. And we have big memories as well. And the main idea was, although we didn't have plans to implement a looper, for example, we knew that people might want it in the future. So the hardware is built for that. So there are many things that we could just add that are just a firmware update, and the hardware doesn't need to be touched whatsoever. So I think, yeah, once these are out rolling, it'll be fun to see what things people request, and then it'll be fun to also be able to, give people what they want.
Yes. All right. So a lot of people are asking, when will there be a sound demo?
Very soon. I mean, I think we could have recorded something already. It's just that with NAM, I mean, I traveled yesterday for like forever, and a lot of the people in Helsinki are also traveling for the show. So we just haven't had a chance to shoot anything. Probably at the show we'll do something. I mean, a lot of YouTubers will be at the show, so we can probably see if we can record something there. But yeah, I mean, very soon. I posted a story on the Neural Instagram of you trying one out and playing with it. So
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Okay. Is the DSP dynamic, or do certain chips only do amps, reverbs, etc.?
That's a very good question. And actually, that's a very, very good question. And there's no easy answer for that, because when you have a grid, for example, there are so many ways in which people can arrange things that you want the DSP, like the computational resources allocation, to be dynamic and automated. That still remains to be seen. I think we might stick to 1 amp per core, for example.
Okay.
So if you load 2 amps, those are routed to different cores, and that makes sense because amplifiers and reverbs are the more expensive algorithms. Right. EQs, overdrive pedals, like simpler circuits or compressors, are quite cheap computationally. So, but yeah, for amps and reverbs, we probably have to. I mean, we have a hard limit of how many amps or how many reverbs can you run in a single shard core. So,
right.
Yeah, but very good question. We've asked ourselves that question a lot also.
Richard asks, how does it work with 4 instruments at once?
I mean, so there's 2 main inputs and 4 outputs, like 2 XLRs and 2 quarter-inch. But there's also 2 FX loops, so you have an additional 2 inputs or returns, and an additional 2 outputs, descents. So yeah, you can use that to connect 4 instruments, and on the grid you can just create 4 lines, 1 for each instrument, and that's it.
Cool. Sean Murphy asks, any plans on modeling some boutique clean amps like 2 Rock, Tone King, Milkman, Benson, blah blah blah. This would help set the quad Cortex apart from some of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the amps we're doing for these are. We have a bit of everything. It's like there's from the cleanest, most pristine ones to the high gain metal amps, and everything in between. So a lot of crunch, So yeah, I mean, we really want to make this tool as universal as possible. So we're gonna make it so it doesn't matter whether you play country or death metal, that you can find sounds here that inspire you and that help you do your thing.
With Neural DSP's relationship with Dark Glass, will we eventually get more direct ported Dark Glass pedals? Will any of the Dark Glass cabs get simmed as well?
That's a good question. And actually, to be honest, I don't know yet. I own most of Dark Glass, but I don't own the whole of it, so it's something I need to talk with the partners and everything. So I'll definitely like to. I mean, the one thing that we'll include for sure is the parallax out of the Neural plugins. And that's because it's our product, so we didn't do it in partnership with anybody, so we can just do whatever we want with that. So the parallax will be there, and we have a list of many bass amps as well that we'll model, the classics. So regardless of there's any Dark Glass or not, I mean, if you have the Dark Glass Ultra plugin, you'll get it for these. But regardless of if we add more that come by default on Quad Cortex. There'll still be plenty of good options. I'm a bass player myself, so I want to make sure that there's
Bass players get taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Adnan says, "Hello, Doug. Why not USB-C? Any advantages to the current USB cable?"
I mean, it's a very good question. I think it was mainly about well, we started working on the USB part a while ago before USB-C became the standard. And also, I think, at least when it comes to interfaces, most still use like the printer USB. So I think we'll stay with it for a while, but we might update it in the future. But I mean, for now, it's just we didn't see any major drawbacks with like upgrading to USB-C at this stage. Didn't seem like it made much sense.
All right. Ed McConaughey asks, how often are you planning to push updates out, and will it be just firmware updates, or will there be more amps and caps added along the way as well?
I mean, it'll be both. So on a firmware update, you might just get a fix for a bug, or you might get that and new models, or you might just get new models. We're gonna do them regularly, at least once a month, I would say. I mean, we'll probably have something new to add for a while. So yeah, actually one thing that we didn't have ready was a pitch shifter, which we now have. It's not ported there yet, but on the VST works amazing. So we'll have like a very nice pitch shifting algorithm, for example. So there are many things that we don't know now that might ship in September. Okay. So that's why I'm a bit reluctant to make the list now, because it'll get a lot better with time. But yeah, I mean, I also understand that people want to sort of see what it'll come with out of the box. So
right. Yeah, right.
But I mean, eventually, because we have microphone preamps there and a phantom power supply, eventually we even want to add vocal effects. Yeah. You know, so we really build the hardware to be able to adapt to whatever uses we might have not anticipated when we developed it. So yeah, I mean, we have plans to do and add more things for a long time.
That's awesome. Regularly. I mean, you could basically run your entire band off of this one board, which is amazing. Let's see. Lear asks, how long has this been in development? I could see. Can you see yourself making full amps and?
I mean, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't. But yeah, at the moment there's no plans for heads or caps. If that's the question.
Cool.
So I mean, who knows? We might come out with something cool, and maybe next year we might do something that I have no idea now that we'll do. But if you ask me now, no, there's no plans for that.
Okay. Yeah. So my computer froze for just a moment, but we're back now. Okay. Cool. Stream's good. Everything's online. Great. Excellent. All right, well, moving on. Let's see. Could you plug an expression pedal in and assign it like a whammy pitch shifter pedal?
Sure. Yeah. There's two expression pedals, pedal inputs. So you can have two. For example, if you want a wah and a whammy, or a wah or a volume, you can do it. And yeah, we're working on a pitch shifting block that you can control with the expression pedal. So yeah, if you like Tom Morello, you'll get that.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
get some Tom Morello, some Dimebag Darrell.
Yep.
Awesome. Martin Stender asks, can users make their own profiles and share them?
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually one of the things, the sharing we wanted to make very easy as well. So since Quad Cortex has Wi-Fi, we want to make it so that you can just share a preset from the device directly to the cloud. So yeah, you can make your own captures, and you can share them with anyone who follows you. Or
that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, the answer is yes.
Great. SXE Samuel asks, how will the side vents hold up against dirt, dust, water? What happens if someone spills a beer on it?
I mean, it depends on where you spill the beer. I mean, I've been making gear for a long time, and a lot of it with Douglas, and I don't think we could claim that any of it is waterproof, to be honest. So if you want to play, while swimming. I'm not sure if there's many solutions that could work for you. But I mean, if you spill a beer on the front, like it shouldn't be catastrophic. Like it should be fine. The Dutchman will be sealed with like a foam adhesive. So yeah, I mean it should be fine. And I mean, vent holes are sometimes are necessary. I mean, even the pedal itself will have like holes in the jacks and everything. So if you get an inch deep of liquid there,
Right.
like I mean, but what device wouldn't?
Right. So tough, but not indestructible.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is truly indestructible.
Exactly. Can Quad Cortex? Damien asks, can Quad Cortex accept MIDI via USB from DAW?
Yeah, that should be a feature that's on the requirement description, so it should be possible. Absolutely.
Okay, that's a good question. Nirav Gupta asks, your plugins are quite clearly capable for modern prog and heavy music, but would this be good for non-heavy music like pop, funk, blues, or other alternative styles?
Sure. I mean, I think the high gain sounds are what people tend to like highlight the most because there's something just like very primal and cool about chugging. But I think particularly the archetypes and even the NTS, like I think we put a lot of love into the clean sounds. Like the Pliny, as it's one of my favorite clean sounds. If you don't mind me saying so myself. And Archetype Avasi also has like a beautiful clean channel. With the piezo simulator and everything. So, yeah, I mean, we've never sort of neglected the clean side, I think. It's just that because of the style that a lot of the people that buy our stuff play, they just don't get highlighted as much. But yeah, I mean, we really want Quad Cortex to cover every style you could possibly play with.
Right. No, I would definitely agree with that. I think that a lot of the plugins, like all the archetypes, are very, very capable of handling any of those styles. And that's something that I want to move the YouTube content into more as well, because yeah, I could definitely do some high gain stuff, and I think that that's some of the more challenging things to represent. But like, yeah, pop, funk, blues, all of that stuff is definitely more than capable of being represented with the archetypes in the NTS.
Yeah, and I mean here we'll have even more clean channels. So
Yeah,
I mean if you have 10 clean amps or 15 clean amps, and eventually 30 clean amps, you should be able to have plenty of options if you want to play very clean like funk or
that's a good question. Adnan asks, any plans for solutions for acoustic guitars with a piezo setup, a VST plugin module for the VST plugin or module for the Cortex for acoustic guitars?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as our hardware can handle the impedances of the piezo, which it should, as I said, I think we really want to make via firmware updates, free firmware updates. We really want to make this a tool that can adapt to. I mean, we'll start with guitarists and bass players because that's our bread and butter now. But as I said, vocal effects and then acoustic effects as well. And also reason for us to have combo inputs. It's not just the microphones for capture. It's also for vocals or if you want to play, acoustic or electroacoustic. So
awesome. Andre G asks, what model of Shark processor Quad Cortex uses? I didn't find a 2 gigahertz quad core processor in Shark's website.
No, so actually, it's 4 500 megahertz cores working together. Technically, you should talk about flops, but since the 4 cores are, working for the most part independently and in parallel, it's much easier to explain that it's easier to explain that it's 2 gigahertz overall. But yeah, in actuality, it's 4 500 megahertz cores working in tandem.
Awesome. Let's see. Mr. Binseek asks, is it easy to navigate on it without a Mac or PC?
Yeah, I would say it's the easiest of the ones I've tried, but also I'm really biased because, like I was, of course, a big part of the development of the entire system. So, but I think when I show it to somebody who's never seen one before, I think it makes sense right away, and it's pretty easy. I mean, you saw it today for the first time.
Yeah, so I got to play around with these for several hours this morning with Doug, and it's very, very intuitive. Like, I didn't have to really spend a whole lot of time figuring things out. I mean, it did help that Doug was here to kind of, like, guide me on a few things, but, like, no, like, once you, like, understand the layout, it's very, very intuitive, especially for a musician who just wants to, like, pull something up, dial in the effects, and just go. Like, it's a very simple model to work from. So yeah, I can attest to it's actually like very easy to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Andrew Stambaugh asks, what is the input impedance of the combo inputs?
Well, actually, you can set them. So I'm not sure if we can show the device itself now. It's probably a bit complicated, but yeah, I mean, there's a. I open it now. But yeah, there's like a cheat sheet for the inputs and outputs, and in that you can control for the inputs 1 and 2. You control the gain, impedance, and also change the signal level from mic to instrument, and turn on and off the phantom power when it's in microphone mode. But yeah, it's the default. It comes with 1 megahertz. 1 megahertz. What I'm saying, 1 mega input impedance. I'm very tired, guys. But yeah, it comes by default at 1 mega, but you can take it down all the way to, let's say, 10 kilo ohms. So yeah, if you have some, or like when we add effects that like some like fast phase or these like old school effects that have really low input impedance, you can match that to get the desired effect.
Gotcha. Let's see. Coral Pink Guitar asks, what is the round trip latency? Below 2.5 milliseconds?
Yeah, we're definitely aiming for below that. But yeah, it's a good number to aim for. I like to say 2, but we have some tests still to do. But yeah, the audio USB part is like 70% there. But yeah, we'll be able to, as soon as we get the specs, we'll also put them on the site. But there are many things that we're still optimizing and improving on.
All right.
But yeah, we're aiming for 2.5 or less.
Awesome.
Milliseconds.
Let's see. Pavel asks, could you explain its capabilities as an audio interface? Would you say it's capable of being the main interface in a studio?
I mean, it all depends on what you need, right? So if you need more inputs and outputs than we have here, it might not be. But if you don't, then yeah, I don't see any reason why it couldn't be. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, unless you have very, very specific needs.
Right.
But I think like people who need very specific interfaces would never look at this to replace those. Like I mean, if you have an Antelope or like one of the flagship from Universal Audio, I don't see why you'd look into buying any modeler to replace that, because you probably have them because you have very, very specific reason to have those.
Gotcha.
For the most part.
So would you say that for like a lot of our users who use something like a Focusrite 2i2 or something like that could easily switch over to this and be completely fine?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Let's see. Jason asks, will we see any A/B test videos capturing real amps before release?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll definitely create more content once that's more mature in the system. But yeah, I think one of the main things we'll continue to do as we progress with development and integration is to create new content so that people can see the features that we're adding as we're adding them. So yeah, there'll definitely be a capture video coming eventually, way before we launch, of course. So yeah.
Excellent. Is there a Skyhawk asks, is there a CPU processor load indicator?
Yeah, so I mean, there's 2 ways to do this. One, just so people know, when you're working with a limited system, I mean, all systems are limited in this case, but there's 2 ways to let people load things. So one is that you just limit the amount of blocks of each type they can load, so you can only have 2 stereo reverbs, 4 amps. Okay. You create an arbitrary limit, and you make sure that with those limits that you'll never reach 100% CPU consumption, but you'll get to like high 90s. So if you want to push it to the system, you'll get there, and then it'll run fine. The other thing to do is to have a CPU monitor and just let people do whatever they want, but they're just aware of how much CPU you're consuming. Right. That could also work. I mean, right now we're monitoring, of course, even for internal use, we do monitor it all the time. So yeah, but that's a very good question. And to be honest, I think that we'll probably offer both, or we're still kind of like deciding, to be honest. I don't have a clear preference when it comes to that. I see both needs, gotcha. But I think for the casual user, having just like a clear limit of how many blocks they can add is a bit easier to grasp. For people who are more looking to pushing it to its limits, having a CPU monitor that lets you treat it more like a computer, okay, would make more sense. But to be honest, there is one. I'm not sure how we'll display it and implement it so the user can see it.
Perfect. That's a good answer. Let's see. LS asks, will there be a video series where you explain the features in depth, guides on how to use them, and more generally how to dial in tones? Yes, absolutely. I will personally be handling a lot of that, I'm sure. Because once I get my hands on one of these myself, like I'm gonna just like pick it apart and make sure that you guys know exactly how to get what tones you want. That's actually gonna be a series that I want to work on, is to how to dial in the vision of your songs that you want, as well as, and then like using that information to inform you for the decisions on what guitars you're going to use, what heads you're going to use, the cabinets, the effects. So that's a series that I think will actually kind of dovetail really well with this. So yes, TLDR, yes. Eric Antonick asks, can you discuss the idea that this is a tool and up to the user to tweak their own tone, not just cloning amps and cabs?
Yeah, it's both. Like this is the thing that one of the cool things about it is that before you had to choose, okay, like I can have really good models. Like if you have like some of the high grade modelers, you could have like a really good model in which you get all of the controls and the interactions of the original device, or you could have this like you could capture your own and you had to choose. I thought it was really cool to have a product that can do both.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want the full model, you'll probably have it there, and if you don't, you can let us know, and we will try to make sure that at the end we cover everything. But yeah, I mean, if you don't know if there's a particular configuration that you just happen to love, like sometimes just set the mic just perfect. Maybe you borrow a
Sorry, this is something I have to deal with occasionally. Sorry about that, guys.
Right.
Let's see. No, I think that's actually a really valid question, because I think that there's some people have mentioned to me the idea that tones are becoming too homogenized, too similar to each other. But I see this as, like you said, it's kind of like a tool where you can jump in and make the fine adjustments that you really want, and it's not going to be just a cut and dry, cookie cutter factory thing. So that's a really good question. I think that was great.
Mm-hmm.
So Tone Junkie TV asks, can you help us understand the capture process? Will we have full EQ control over captures? Do you anticipate third-party captures becoming popular, similar to the Kemper?
So I mean, by EQ it depends on what you mean, because the Kemper already has an EQ, for example.
Mm-hmm.
What I think people mean is that will you be able to learn the tone stack of the amp, because it's a very important thing. I mean, you actually can, and we've done it, but there's something that you need to think, and it's that the amount of possible combinations is huge. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of combinations if you want to do 3 knobs and 6 positions. So unless you want to sit down and like punch values for 3 days, that's not gonna happen. But I mean, we would actually do it. Like we would actually, crazy. We're done with robots. Like you can do it, but not by hand. I mean, it's maybe one knob you could, but I mean, no. For the time being, it'll be a static snapshot, just like the other solutions. But just I think slightly more accurate, and you'll get like the dynamic feel, like really accurately. But yeah, a snapshot for now. We'll see. The cool thing is that we pretend to continue to work on this and to make it better for the users. So make everything more efficient. Take the training time down, for example. Make it faster and faster. So yeah, that's something we'll definitely continue to work on.
Leopoldo Ineko asks, can we have a sound demo now?
These are not routed, right?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, not currently. I don't think. I mean, we could figure something out on the fly if we need to. But
yeah, I mean, I think we can prepare something like better, and just a couple days, guys.
Yeah. Let us do an actual tone demo, because right now we're also like we're streaming live to YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So I'm not gonna really trust the streaming capabilities to not compress the audio and we want to make sure that this is the best, represented the best as possible. So we'll get you some tone demos really, really soon. Just trust us in the next couple of days for sure. I know y'all are chomping at the bit, and I can understand why. Okay, so Semiyaza asks, could we play 4 instruments at the same time on a live show with one quad Cortex?
Yeah.
There you go. Yes. That's yes.
Yes.
Let's see. Kurt Gaetano asks, is there going to be an intelligent pitch shifter?
I'm not sure what that. I mean, it'd be good to know what does he mean by intelligent. Like, there's no definition of what an intelligent pitch shifter is. But yeah, if you wanna explain, I can tell you if there is or not.
Okay. Anonymous asks, will there be visual feedback for stuff like levels and or gain reduction?
Yes. I mean, the inputs and outputs page will have meters for each connector. So yeah, you'll be able to click and see if you're clipping or not.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry guys, I'm getting fed questions over on the side here, so if it's a little slow, I apologize. We have so many comments and so many questions coming in, so
that's crazy.
So Dan has to sift through them to get the questions that we need to answer. So be patient with us. Ricardo Miranda asks, how do the plugins translate to the hardware? I
mean, in the technical sense, if he's asking about like the engineering side of things, it's actually a lot of work. You need to basically discard all of the front-end developments, all of the UI design and connections of the user interface to the audio processors. It's scrapped. We need to design a new UI for the embedded environment, and then the algorithm probably has to be it has to be ported for sure, and in some cases it has to be optimized for sharks. Sharks are very powerful, but you do need to tweak how the algorithm works in terms of computational and memory allocation, and that's a very complex thing to do, and that's why you need people who do this for a living are like unicorns. You run into a few good ones in a lifetime if you're lucky, and if you're really looking for them. So, and we have quite a few that are extremely good. But yeah, on the technical side, that's how you do it. So you design a new UI, and then you have to optimize the algorithm itself to run efficiently here. But then yeah, I mean, if you do that correctly, you end up with the same sound as you have on the plugin. One thing that we're also exploring is how to make the presets compatible with Quad Cortex. So if you bought a Plini, for example, and you have all your presets, and this is something that we're investigating. So like, I'm not promising this feature, but we have people looking into it. It'll be cool to make it so that you can load your presets, and then it converts them to the Cortex format, and then you can have them here. Yeah, that's something that I think it'd be really cool to have, and we are looking into it.
Awesome. Let's see. We got Alan McKay. He asks, how much delay should we expect between stomping on the pedal and the unit changing the effector preset?
Sorry, can you say that again?
So how much delay should we expect between stomping on the pedals for the unit to change the effector preset?
I mean, it depends on what you're doing, right? So when you're switching presets, actually, every time you change a preset in a modeler, all of the algorithms that you have on a preset are loaded from a memory onto the DSPs, onto the chips doing the signal processing. When you change presets, all of that needs to be overwritten for whatever you have on the next preset. So you have to pull new data from the memory and overwrite the previous one on the processor. So that takes some time. Like, that doesn't happen in instant time, and it's a very complex thing to do, and it's impossible to do in zero time, which is why you have a gap between preset changes on pretty much all modelers. So if you're changing presets with us, with Quad Cortex, you will have the same gap. When you change a block, either in Stomp Mode or in Scene Mode, it's instant.
Okay.
Or like pretty instant, yeah. So there shouldn't be any noticeable gap if you're on block on Stomp or Scene Mode.
Cool.
But there will be on preset.
Let's see. David Edelberg asks, my concern is stomping on the dial knobs. What's the warranty on these?
I mean, the warranty on the device is 2 years limited, but actually, I think people who are afraid, I understand why people would be afraid of it because, knobs are fragile. But you shouldn't look at this as a knob that you can stomp on. You should look at it as a stomp box that you can rotate. Sorry, as a stomp switch that you can rotate. So it has the durability of a stomp switch, which makes it the most reliable knob you can have. Because no knob, I mean, trust me, with Douglas, I make, thousands and thousands of pedals with traditional knobs. If I'm 230 pounds, if I stomp on them, they're gone. We did a video with Francisco where he also weighs like 220. He says like he weighs 205, but it's like, yeah, I'm 25 years old, man. Like, no, you are not. You're 220. I carried him on my back and we jumped on these, and nothing happened. I mean, nothing happened. I couldn't do that with any device that has traditional knobs. So the guarantee is 2 years, but I mean, these are not gonna fail. And actually, the actuators we use it's my design. I mean, it's our design, but they're custom made as well, and they're made of steel, like stainless steel. Actually, I tried to break one. I tried to remove the cap, the top part here, just to measure something else, like an internal measurement, just when we're in the prototyping stage, and I couldn't take it out. I actually had to put it on a chassis, and get a crowbar.
Oh, jeez.
Like the crowbar from a hammer.
Yeah.
I had to pull like full weight.
Yeah.
230 pounds full weight for like 10 pulls to get the cap out. And even if you do that, it won't break. Like it'll still continue to work.
Right.
But I mean, I spent like 45 minutes trying to break one, like with powered, like with not power tools, but with heavy duty tools. And it was nearly impossible. So yeah, I mean, the switches are the least of your concerns, I think. Particularly these ones.
Got it.
They're pretty nice, pretty robust.
Awesome. Jason Hart asks, I know it supports 4 instruments, but can you use all available DSP on one single chain?
That's a really good question. I don't know yet, to be honest. In all honesty, I would like it to be, but there could be some limitations on the routing you can do between chips that would make that very unique requirement problematic for more like conventional or reasonable ones. So probably, but I can't promise that you could do that. Like put 4 amps and 2 reverbs on the same path.
Right. Guess the point of being ridiculous at that point. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure people can find use for it, but
oh yeah.
But also, like, I mean, the system has limitations. It's very powerful, very, very powerful and flexible, but it's not like it doesn't have a limited processing power or a limited flexibility.
Right. Good. Leopoldo asks, can we connect a separate controller to it, e.g. second musician controls his effects or controls the looper, etc.?
That's a really good question. Possibly not. I haven't even thought about that, to be honest. I would say possibly not. So if you choose to use the foot switches, you use that. If you choose MIDI, we're still on. Yeah.
Okay. So, audio render, please restart computer. Check. Okay, so we're still getting audio there.
Sorry, Instagram folks. We had a problem with the computer, so
let me just make sure. Oh, we're still on? Okay, I think we're still on. Yep, we're good. Okay, awesome. Sorry, my computer did something weird, so we're still on. We're still good. Yes.
Cool. So what was the question? Separate controller.
Yeah, separate controller.
Yeah.
Yes.
Possibly not. I think if you want to switch, if you're using more than one instrument at once, you probably have to share the control of it, which is also something that you probably desire because you don't want someone you want to keep the changes controlled and synchronized if you're playing live.
Right.
So if you're doing MIDI, for example, you'll probably have, if you're using 2 guitars and controlling with MIDI, for example, you'll probably want to do different things if one of the guitars is playing a lead and the other one is playing, rhythm, or if both are playing a lead. So I think it's probably more useful to, and also easier for us to just implement it so that you can control it with only one, and then whether you have somebody whose job is to, stomp on them and the other guitarist just plays, or if you just automated everything via MIDI. Yeah,
I think that would probably be one of the most simplistic solutions is just automate everything with MIDI, so that way the changes happen automatically without having to go over and
also one of the things that sort of we have to understand is that if you want to keep the user interface intuitive and simple, you have to be very economical with what choices you allow. So, I mean, there are many things that we could do that we probably choose not to do, not because we can't, but because it would just make the navigation and the setting, the setup for it, a nightmare for everybody. But this is something we question constantly. Us, like I'm the product architect for this, but the UX designer, and we question ourselves a lot, and we get a lot of feedback also. So we'll talk to people like you who record for a living, or people who tour for a living. And we just want to have a really nice balance between flexibility and simplicity, and that's very hard to do. When you choose only one and prioritize one, it's usually a bit easier. But when you try to sort of have like the best of both, it gets very tricky. You have to be like very, very deliberate with what you allow to be adjustable by the user and what you just don't.
Yeah.
But again, these things can change also. So it's like if you figure out a better way in the future, or if enough people ask for it, in the sense that, okay, like this makes sense for a lot more people than we thought, it's something we can probably, modify with a firmware update. So just because we won't have it in September doesn't mean that it'll never happen.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Let's see. Patrick Christopher Larson asks, I'm not sure I understand the whole situation with loading the Nameless suite, for example, onto the unit.
Okay, so if you bought the Nameless plugin, whether it's now or when it came out or after these Quad Cortex ships, you'll get a free format that basically means that you can load it on your device. Right. So if you have sounds that you love with your Nameless and you have presets that you love with the Nameless, we want to make it as easy as possible for people to go from one platform to the other very, very easily. So yeah, that's how it works.
Perfect. It's good. Flame Death Crash says, I really, really, really want to know if the screen is strong enough not to break easily, and is the Quad Cortex getting hot?
I mean, it gets warm like any device of its kind, but I mean, it's not like super hot, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like lukewarm to the touch, but not super hot. And yeah, I mean, the screen, the production screen has 1.8 millimeter Corning glass. Corning is a company that invented Gorilla Glass. And there's two main reinforced glass suppliers. One is Dragontail. Actually, I think the company is Asahi. I'm not sure if the company is Asahi and they offer Dragontail glass, or if it's the other way around, the companies, but whatever. But yeah, it's either Asahi or Corning. And that's like the gold standard when it comes to strengthened glass. The particular process is chemically strengthening that we're using.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll have a strengthened glass, and I mean, displays are problematic for everyone who has a foot control device that has any kind of display, whether it's a old school LCD display or a touchscreen. Like the moment that you have a sheet of glass or plastic, it's bound to break, and that's inevitable. But we really want to make it so that within normal use, it's durable enough for you to play without being overly worried for it, and just use your device with peace of mind. So yeah, but I mean, we're taking the necessary steps, which are to have a very ship it with a very strong protective glass of like as a standard feature, not to have to buy one like an additional one later on.
Right. No iPhone protective screens over the.
I mean, like if somebody wants to do that and it works well, I think like why not? Like having an extra layer will probably help. But we don't want to make it so that that's like compulsory for everybody.
Right. Wolfgang Michael Music asks, will there be a variable ducking feature implemented for the effects? Example, reverb opens up when holding a note. This could also be amazing in combination with vocals, like a dynamic automation.
Actually, yeah, one of our DSP guys was talking about that, and it's something we're looking into. I'm not sure if it'll be on in the February, man. Like, September. I can guarantee that that's something we'll have by September, but it's something that we're definitely looking into adding, in the near future.
Perfect.
If it's not implemented in September.
Let's see. Derbstons asks, I'm interested in the hardware side of things. What mic pre's and what converters do you use in the Quad Cortex?
Well, the mic pre's are our design, and the converters are Cirrus Logic, so like pretty high grade. I mean, the analog signal design, it's we have really nice op amps, like very very fancy op amps to just minimize like maximize headroom and minimize noise. And the signal path is quite high grade and pristine. And the converters we chose are also like very, very. They're like after the Sharks, they are the most expensive single component are the converters.
Video ended. Go ahead and start.
Share the story. Wait 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it looks like the Instagram Live.
It has 1 hour limit.
Oh, okay. So go ahead and hit the. Yeah, we'll just go live again. Don't worry about it. All right. Yeah, we've been going for about an hour now. So so
sorry, Instagram.
We're just gonna restart the Instagram Live story and continue on. So yeah. Excellent. Jason asks, how do you imagine QC users are going to share their presets?
I mean, the app is the easiest way to do it. The cool thing about the app is that you can search preset names or probably tags, but you can also follow people. So if I follow you, Steve, and you just share a few presets that you found today that thought people might dig, I can just go to your profile and download them from the app, and they'll wirelessly be beamed onto the quad Cortex if it's connected to Wi-Fi. So pretty easy.
That's badass.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's pretty nice.
Sven asks, will it be possible to record digitally in 44.1 kilohertz, or does the USB audio feature only support the internal sampling rate of 48 kilohertz?
It should be switchable for the USB. Okay. So yeah, for now, yes. Unless something changes, but yeah, it should be switchable for the USB.
Excellent. Let's see. We've got some more questions coming in at all.
Can you share captures on the app that's on YouTube? Kai Down asked. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and put in for final questions? So we'll start wrapping everything up because we got some more work to do. I know Doug is exhausted, so we'll just we're probably gonna caffeinate up in a minute, and then we'll call it a day. So we've got a whole bunch of new questions. Let's see. Modern Vintage, what's up, dude? He's a regular. He comes in. Right. He comes into the Q&As every week, so he's my homie.
Cool.
Modern Vintage asks, will there be a full Mac PC graphic-rich UI similar to Fractal's desktop software for studio use, or are plugins meant for that?
I mean, I think the UI on the controller will look quite similar to the UI on the device, just because it's easier to visualize what you're doing without doing much thinking. So I guess that's the answer. Yeah, I mean, it'll look like the device. It'll have that style of UI.
Okay. Cool. Matthew Cohen asks a good question. Matthew Cohen asks, what is the boot up time if it were to go down during a show, if you need to reboot?
Right now it's 30 seconds, but we want to make it faster. I can't promise that we will, but yeah, it's one of the things that I'm trying to push the engineers to, shorten up. But yeah, 30 seconds, we can promise that.
Perfect.
So.
Good question. Inigo Zapata asks, 8 buttons, is it possible to assign presets, stomps, and scenes at the same time so as to have 4 presets, 3 stomps, and 1 scene, for example?
That's a very interesting case, yeah. We, at the moment, no. So at the moment, you can only choose one of the 3 modes. But as I said, I think I mentioned it earlier, that I would like to do a hybrid mode in which people can assign, for example, a row for presets and the other row for scenes or stomps. Something that customizable, I'm not sure. Again, it's one of these things that I have to sit down with the UX designers and try it out. But at least a hybrid mode in which you can have a part of the switches for presets and the other for stomp or scenes. Yeah, we'll probably implement that by September.
Cool. Michael D asks, will Neural DSP be at the Summer NAMM this year since he can't make the Winter NAMM?
That's a good question. I don't know, actually. We might be.
I'm down.
I haven't thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, we got the Winter NAMM right now, and that's pretty much all of our
Winter NAMM is coming.
Winter NAMM is coming.
But yeah, we might actually. It's
okay,
a good question.
Cool. Mr. Hard Rocker says, wait. So this is a good question. Mr. Hard Rocker says, so every amp is neural nets made in the. Is every Neural DSP amp going to be in the Cortex?
Can you repeat?
I think that's what he's asking. I don't know. I'm having a hard time. The chat's moving very quickly right now.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and just do like one or two more questions?
There's some on the other screen actually.
Okay, so Anonymous asks, will there be channel switching within the blocks? Like channel 1 is a tube screamer, channel 2 is a big muff, for example, but all in one block.
No, you have to use different blocks for that at the moment.
Okay. Nazgul555 asks, are there any pedalboard mountable power supplies or battery power bank compatible supplies for 12-volt 3A recommended yet?
Yes, actually, we'll probably make a list of power supplies that are compatible. I mean, it'll ship with one, so you don't need one. But of course, I understand that if you want to integrate this with your pedal board, you want to log a separate wallboard just for this. So I think we'll look into having a list, and we'll buy them all first and test, make sure that they work. Well, with this, if I want to tell you that it works, we want to make sure that that's the case. But yeah, there should be third-party solutions for power supplies that you're already using with your pedal board that would make, integrating this on your current setup much easier.
Okay,
so
cool.
Sure.
Cool.
How many blocks in one chain? That's the one. So the grid is 8 blocks on one row, and it's 4 rows. So it's a 4x8 matrix.
Great.
Can I pair my AirPods to QC? No. Not yet, at least. Actually, the Wi-Fi module we're using, it's a wireless module because it also has Bluetooth. So we can unlock Bluetooth functionality in the future. So cool. All things Bluetooth, we just don't have the bandwidth right now to work on them. But if there are some cool applications that we can implement with this hardware, we'll definitely look into it. So who knows? Maybe you'll be able to hook up your Bluetooth headphones. But Bluetooth does have significant latency when it comes to audio transmission. So I'm not sure if that's something that you'd like to use to hear yourself play. Like you'll hear a noticeable delay.
Yeah, that'd be very problematic.
And that's just not good. So but I mean, maybe like for a Bluetooth foot controller or something else, there could be other uses that would make sense. So, but yeah, nothing at the moment.
Great. Let's see. How you feeling? You wanna wrap this up?
We can wrap this up, yeah. Somebody asked, will using a crowbar on my quad Cortex void the warranty? Yep.
Yes. Obvious answer is obvious. Yes. Awesome. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for all of you guys hanging out.
There is some last closing thoughts.
So let's outline. Will there be beta testers?
Yes, but we'll select them because to beta test something like this, you need to not only know a lot about audio and guitar, but you also need to know a lot about we need professional beta testers, people who break software for a living. So yeah, those people will be beta testing. I think some of our artists too. I know that Pliny volunteered to beta test this on the road, so
of course.
I think once we have an unit that's road ready when it comes to software, we'll give him one and get his thoughts. Will there be units on them? Yeah, we have 2 units, so these 2 units will be at the show. We're just trying to, do some last minute debugging to make sure that we can, show something that's cool and that sounds good and everything. But yeah, we'll have units that people can try. It won't be the full-fledged system, of course. We need, we need until September to have all of the amps, all of the features. So don't expect that what you'd get in September will be available on an amp. That's just not realistic. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we wouldn't ship it in September. Yeah, we'd ship it in 2-3 months once manufacturing is ready. But I mean, there will be amps, there will be cabs, some pedals, delays and stuff. So you can definitely, if you're an amp, you can come by and find me and I can work you through the features and show you what you can do with it.
Perfect.
Anything else?
Yeah. When will the sound demos be out?
Well, we already covered that, but I think I think we'll probably try to do something at the show. Yeah, because you can just grab an XLR to your whatever, like a Zoom recorder or to your camera, and so maybe not. I hope that we have time at the show to shoot something.
Great. Will influencers be demoing? I think we.
In the near future, yeah. So of course, Rabia, all of our favorite dudes. I'm sure they'll be keen to try it out. So. Again, as soon as we have a unit that has enough algorithms there and that's there for them to shoot a video, we'll probably send a few to them so that you guys can get their idea of how it sounds and what it can do.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, that's pretty much it. So that's our time. Again, thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us on this stream. This was a blast. And And thank you, Doug, for taking the time and answering all the questions.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. And I mean, the response to this has been insane. Like, we didn't expect anything like this. We sold out in less than 2 days, which I never saw coming. So to everyone who pre-ordered, thank you so much. I mean, it means a lot, and we'll definitely work even harder than we have so far to make sure that we, that this not only like meets your expectations, but actually surpasses all of them, and that you're really happy that you gave us a chance and put your hard-earned money to get one. So thank you so much, and don't worry, we will not let you down. Thank you.
Absolutely.